Hey, what's up everyone? Hope you're okay. How does Hailey work? This is today's video. I'll break it down everything and provide as clear as possible the explanation because it looks like many people seems confused about how our damage scales. So let's check the damage first. So here we can see two numbers. One of this number is the skill damage, and the other number is the bullet damage, just like Glay Massacre skill. So first let's talk about the skill damage. In this example, the skill damage is 858k damage, and it's scaled from your reactor, your set, like an example if we are using the Slayer set, and also from the Descendant module, and everything scale out of this part of the skill. For the other damage, we can see 2 billion and something, 2 billion and 1. This is coming from the bullet of your sniper, which is on the skill, it's the base damage, it's the same as the equipped weapon, and we can see that the skill increased the firearm ATK by 50% for each bullet. Please note that there are two different numbers and each with its own chance to critical hit. So the skill's critical hit rate will affect the skill damage number, while the firearm's critical hit rate will influence the bullet damage. So you have two separate numbers, each with its own distinct critical hit rate. To provide more clarity on this, let's run a test using a level 1 firearm and let's observe the damage output. So as you can see, 263 damage with the level 1 weapon, which means the gun is really important and it's the higher number between those two, so which is why I keep saying we want to increase the firearm ATK and the critical damage from the gun itself and not from the Descendant module and from the skill power. Of course, skill power is important because it's part of the damage, but it's always more effective to prioritize maximizing firearm ATK over skill power, and that's why, for example, we use shot focus, which boosts firearm ATK while reducing skill power. This is also the reason I prefer to go with the tightrope module and the annihilation set instead of ambush and slayer set. The first goal is to improve the firearm damage as much as possible, as it's the higher number of the two number you can see. Alright, now that we're familiar with the two damage number we have, let's introduce an additional damage number which comes from the Cryo round skill. Cryo round skill apply Cryo stack to the enemies, and every time you're hitting an enemies with your firearm ATK, it's gonna do damage, an extra damage, and it's gonna reduce the stack on the enemy. And as we can see in the description, the additional damage is gonna be 50%. But 50% of what? Alright, so let's try. I'm gonna use skill number 1 to apply stack to the enemy. So it got 9 stack. Alright, let's break. Let's see. So here we have 3 damage now. We still have the skill damage, 858. This doesn't change. We managed to get a crit with the bullet, 5.1 billion, and we have an extra damage, 2.5 billion. And this is coming from the skill number 1. So we reduce the stack by 1 on the enemy, and we are going to add an extra damage per bullet, which is 50% of the damage of your bullet. So in this case, 2.5 billion. So that's some crazy stuff right there. We just want to reduce every time we shoot the stack on the enemies, and we're gonna apply an extra damage which is 50% of the bullet damage. Alright, now that we've seen that, let's introduce the skill number 3. We want to have always the maximum crit hit rate, but those are not high number right there. I do have 15% crit hit rate for my skill, and I do have 50% chance to have a firearm crit hit rate. This is where skill number 3 come in place. You're gonna have stack that increase your crit hit rate for both skill and firearm. See, each stack we are increasing until we reach 100. At maximum 16 stack, I do reach with my build 100% crit rate on the skill and on the firearm damage. And this is really important because it means now that every time we are gonna shoot a bullet, we're gonna make critical damage on the skill damage, on the bullet damage, and so by default the 50% with skill number 1 is gonna be also half of the crit damage of the bullet, so it's gonna be a huge number no matter what. So let's run that test. So I'm gonna use the ultimate skill, then I'm gonna build the 16 stack from the skill number 3 to have the 100 crit hit rate from skill and weapon. Then I'm gonna use the skill number 1 and we're gonna shoot. Alright, let's pause here. As we can see, there are freezes of damage. The bullet damage, which is 5.9 billion, and it's a critical damage. The Cryo round damage, which is the 2.9 billion damage on the bottom, this number will never appear in crit because it's not a crit theoretically, it's just half of the damage of the crit of the bullet. And then on the background we have the critical damage from our skill damage, which is I think 3.8 or 3.9 billion. Alright, that's it anyway. One thing you want to know is even if we do have 100% crit hit rate for the skill and for the firearm, sometimes you will not crit. Do not ask me why, I do not know, but this is something we've seen with a bunch of friends in my Discord, and sometimes even if you have 100%, you're not gonna make a crit. It's like a bug, I don't know. Anyway, now that you understand this concept, you might better grasp why I opted for the conditional recharge module to consume and reduce my life. This is to trigger the tightrope effect, which grants us 30% more attack and 30% more skill power. It also explains why I choose the annihilation set. So the rotation is gonna be wasting your life by using skill at the beginning, and then you have to do this twice. Use the ultimate skill, reach the 16 stack on the skill number 3, use the skill number 1 to have a stack on the enemy, and then you shoot. And here let's hit break, and we have the damage. So Cryo round is 3.7 billion. We have so 7.4 billion as damage from the bullet, and the skill damage we can see the 3.9, 3.8 billion. This is exactly the same number as before because skill damage is not gonna change, like never. It's 2 damage different. It's gonna be the normal damage and the crit damage. Anyway, I hope it's clear for everyone. If you have any question, feel free to ask me in the comment section down below. If I made a mistake in my explanation, please feel free also to let me know if you have any update for this build or anything working maybe better. This is just me working on the build, trying to make it work as perfect as possible and getting the best module combination. So feel free to say anything in the comment about that. taking all the time to read the comments. So feel free. Anyway, that's it for me, guys. I hope you liked the video and have a good day. Bye bye.